That's the essential message of two fingers touching, and it's the very famous art and portrait that you will find in the Vatican City, where the painting depicts that the God is touching the finger of Adam, and that is the creation, right? We will look at it in detail, but remember this picture because this picture has a meaning. The touching of the hand between technology and human being. All right, let me tell you a short story first so that it becomes clear of what goes on in our brain and how does the artificial intelligence work. Keeping in mind the time, there was an experiment, and in the experiment they wanted to check the effect of social norm on people. So they said, okay, let's do this. They brought in 7 monkeys. They put the 7 monkeys in the cage. They put a ladder in between, and they hung the bananas on the top. And monkeys, while they were playing, they saw, oh, bananas! So suddenly one monkey ran up the ladder to get the bananas, and leaving the monkey who was climbing the ladder, all the other monkeys were showered with water, cold water. And the monkeys did not like it. So first they did not understand, why is this happening? Why am I being showered with water? Then again, second monkey ran up to get bananas. Again, the rest of them were showered with cold water. And after 3-4 times, they realized that if any one of us try and get the bananas, we will be showered with cold water. And therefore, next time if any monkey tried to go up, all of them attacked the monkey, pull him down and beat him up. So now everybody knows that nobody is supposed to go on the ladder. After 1 week, they took one monkey away and put another monkey. So the new monkey did not know the norms. Rasmo Rivaj, he didn't know about it. So he came in, he was playing and he saw, hey, bananas. And immediately he ran up to get the bananas, and all the monkeys jumped upon him, pulled him down and started beating him. And I was like, what's wrong with you guys? Why are you beating me up? Why is no one taking the bananas? Nobody answered anything. Then they took out another monkey and put another monkey. And anyone who tried to go up, rest of them attacked him, pulled him down and started beating. Eventually, over a period of time, all the 7 original monkeys were taken away, and a second batch of 7 monkeys existed by replacing one by one. And when the last monkey came in, he went up to get the bananas. Everybody caught him, pulled him down and started beating him up. Then he said, wait, what's happening? Why are you beating me? Like, because everyone does that. But why is everyone doing it? We don't. Showered with cold water. So is it still valid or not? We don't know. But we want to stick to the standards, right? Now with this message, I want you to understand that when it came to technology, people stuck to the earlier standards. And the standard was that there is God. The God exists. And technology said, no. We want to challenge this thought that God exists. So they said, they asked the Muslims, when you say God, what do you mean? He says, God in the sky. Then they asked the Hindus, what about God? He said, God in the sky. They asked the Christians, they said, God in the sky. He said, okay. So they went up in the sky, in the space, and said, I see no God up here. So where is this God that you're talking about? Why are we talking about this? Because of this image. This image talks about the creationism, and that is between God and man. And they say, okay, God created, according to all the other religions, God created everything, right? Recite a salawat for him so that Allah wa alayhi Muhammad. So it said God created everything, right? Animals, plants, trees, everything else. Why is human being special? Can someone tell me, from all the creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, why are human beings special? Why are we special? Because we have aql, we have intelligence. So they said, oh, just because man has intelligence, you think man is special, and because God created something with intelligence, you think God is super special, right? Because you treat God with super speciality. You worship Him, you respect Him, you submit to Him, and then you provide gifts to Him. If you look at all the religions, they bring laddus and sweets, and then Muslims, they sacrifice on Bakri Eid and all that. So they said, oh, so someone who creates intelligence, you're telling us that they are extremely special. One, someone who has intelligence is special, but someone who is able to create intelligence are even more special. Great. So, we as man want to show it to you that we can create intelligence. And we want to show it to you that this intelligence that we are creating is more intelligent than the man itself. And therefore, man is a higher degree of God compared to the God that you believe in. And that's why this picture that you see is showing the connection between technology, human beings, and the intelligence. So they're trying to show that, okay, you believe in God. Why do you believe in God? Because of creation of intelligence. See, we also created intelligence. And therefore, we are also at the status of God. So, artificial intelligence, though it was created with certain intentions of progress and technological development and medical development, so on and so forth, which we will look here. But one of the fundamental idea behind it is that we want to prove that God does not exist. Because we can create intelligence. Therefore, anyone can create intelligence. So the intelligence is not something special. And if you say special, then if you believe there is a God, then we are also to be called a God. So if I created artificial intelligence, then I am the God. Right? So that's the whole ideology and base thinking behind this whole concept of artificial intelligence. And that's why the more the artificial intelligence prevails, the lesser the value of creationism in the eyes of scientists and technology. Let's look at some very basic stuff. There's something called artificial intelligence, then there's something called machine learning, and there's something called deep learning. Artificial intelligence is, as you can see the timeline below, it started off in 1950s and then went on all the way. I have this image which shows till 2017. That's where the deep learning started off, and then it went into a accelerated mode of development. We will look at them slowly, one by one. Let's look at the fact. Where does it all begin? This is what we are going to cover. The most curious thing of man is man himself, because man has always been curious about himself. So he's like, okay, I exist. Yes, you exist. But what am I? Why am I alive? How do I function? Do I have organs? Is there blood in me? How does the blood flow in my body? So if you go back and look at the times of Greek mythology, and you read what the people at the time of Socrates had to talk about human body, they said human body, the blood in the human body flows like the river or the ocean waves. So you have waves coming and going, and that's why you feel the pulse. The wave comes and wave goes. Wave comes and wave goes, and that's why you feel the pulse. And they say that when the man gets angry, it's just like the ocean where it's high tide. So in high tide, you have heavy pressure of water, and that is when the man gets angry. So if man is angry, that means the blood is flowing at high tide level. And when he's calm, that means it's the low tide level. That's how they defined. And they were curious about why man functions in a particular way. What happens when he eats the food? And that's when they started dissecting human beings and seeing what's happening and all that. So for man, the most curious thing that he wanted to know about was man. Because animals he could see, plants and trees he could see, he could cut them open and see. But they wanted to know more about man. And the thing that made them extremely curious was the intelligence of the man. So the functioning of the body we understand. The way food goes in, gets digested, oxygen, lungs and all that. But how is the intelligence working? How come no other animal has the same level of intelligence? So the most important thing about man was, how does he work? And like I said, how does he think? How does he create? And not just creation of physical things, but the creation of mental objects. How does man have the ability to create and imagine things in his head? Where did he get that from? So that was the most curious thing. So then they started creating things which had some basic abilities like human beings. Human beings have ability to analyze, process and give output. So you will lose your Bitcoin, huh? He said, I'll look who's listening carefully, I'll give him Bitcoin. I look at him and he's sleeping. So what you see here is the first calculator up there. That was the first calculator that man created, which had the ability to do 2 plus 2 equals to 4. So the calculator was designed in a way that you give the input, it processes the input and gives you the output. That's the job. And it was told how to process the input. So if I give you 2 and I ask you to multiply it by 3, then you should do this. If I ask you to divide by 2, you should do this. So all the information was fed, and when the input was given, it would give you the output. That was the basic thing. The other thing that you see here is the first computer. And the first computer was as big as this hall, filled with capacitors and processors and all that, and it could do the most basic work of calculating large numbers, which used to run into millions, because the calculator did not have the capacity. But the question was, can a computer that is that big, can it solve the Pythagoras theorem? Without me telling it how to solve the Pythagoras theorem. And no, it did not have the ability. Then they said, okay, let's work towards creating intelligent computers. Right? And let me see if we are getting into, okay. So they said, let's create something extremely intelligent. And that's why somewhere around 10, 15 years ago, you would hear something called supercomputers. And what were they doing? They were processing not just some data, not just a lot of data, but teradata. When I say teradata, meaning that a supercomputer would be fed data of 1 whole year about the weather of Madagascar, so that next year when I tell the computer that, look, I can see wind blowing at this speed, the sun at this altitude, there is so much humidity and I can see clouds. Tell me, will it rain tomorrow or not? And the computer, based on the data from the past year, 365 days, every hour, it calculates and tells you, yes, tomorrow at 12 o'clock it's going to rain. So now the computer is able to predict, but based on the existing data that you have provided. So basically what's happening, it's taking the data, processing it, and giving you the output. So the method has not changed dramatically. Only the processing capability and data, quantity of data has changed. Later on, they started moving towards artificial intelligence, and one of the advantage of artificial intelligence was that apart from the data that I'm giving you, I want you to analyze and learn by yourself. So I'm not going to tell you what this data is and what this data means. You should be able to learn by yourself. And that's where the artificial intelligence started off. But some of the things that they realized that is missing compared to the human intelligence is the ability to react to emotions. The computer had no emotions. And that's why if you remember, I don't know if this was available here, if you would call any department, you will hear the automated voice. Your call is on hold. Please wait for your turn. Your call is important to us, right? But that was such a dry recorded voice that after 1 or 2 minutes, you would lose your patience. You would feel that I'm not connected to a human being. So they realized that, okay, computer is good. It has high intelligence. It can process lots of data, but there are no emotions to it. So, for example, 911, if someone in America would call up 911 and they say, my child is missing, and I'm looking for child, and I'm not able to find my son for last 2 hours, then the computer would say, I am sorry to hear that your child is not, or child is missing. Please dial 5. She's like, and she's crying, right? So they're like, where is the emotion? I'm worried, I'm dying, and there is no emotion happening. So they said, no, we need to work on this aspect as well. And that is only when that we are able to work on the emotional aspect, we will be able to bring artificial intelligence closer to human nature. We want artificial intelligence to come closer to human nature. Again, the question, why? So that it's not just processing information, but it is learning from the behaviors and reacting in a particular way and attaining that ability to create. The aspect of creating was missing. So they realized that computer can respond, but it does not have the ability to react and provide inputs. So they said, okay, you know what? Let's give lots of code to the computer. We will tell the computer that if the voice is like this, then the person is emotionally impacted. If the sound is like this, then the person is happy. If the person's voice is shaking, that means they are upset. So they give millions and millions of lines of code, and they thought that with this code we can get the computer to feel the emotions. So for example, if someone said, I lost my dog, and they're crying, they thought the computer will hear and respond with emotions. But then again, it was as simple as giving the input and getting the output. And they saw that this is, only to the extent of the code that we provide that the computer is responding. It is not doing more than that. So if I have given the code about lost dog, it responds in a particular way. If I have given a code about lost child, it responds in a particular way. But if I call them up and I say, I lost my crypto wallet, they did not think about it. And like, I don't know what you're talking about. So they say, oh, so I am restricted, irrespective of... So every human being would have so many problems. So what codes can I provide? Billions and trillions of lines. So it's beyond my capability to provide all sorts of inputs. So again, they found themselves restricted. And this is where they said, we need to think outside the box. We can't be sitting and writing codes and hiring hundreds and thousands of people to sit and write code. How much code will you write? And the more code you write, the heavier the operating system will be, and the heavier the computer will be. So you need a higher processor, you need a higher RAM, and it will not start functioning at optimal level. So they said, we want the machine to learn by itself. We want the machine to learn and respond. And that's when you see all these toys in Japan were created. You had a toy which is a dog, you will bring the dog home, and this dog would behave like a dog. So they knew that we can't get to the human beings first, but let's create animals. Let's duplicate animal behavior. So they had dogs. They came up with robots that could act like a waiter and bring in tea and coffee to you. They came up with robots that can play football with your children. And it had its own process, It took them years just to get the robot to stand properly and walk without falling and all that. So I'm not getting into that. It's a whole detailed discussion. But after years of, coding, practicing and, managing, finally they were able to get here. And then the same technology went to the extent of learning, when I'm talking about learning, that they started incorporating it into Mars rovers, and those machines that are sent deep into the ocean to gather the information and learn from the environment there. So there's no one sitting on Mars, but the Mars rover, as it goes through, collects the data of the wind blowing, collects the data of the sound happening, collects the data of the mud available there, and based on that, it processes information and then tells us what and how is Mars. Can we live there? Can we not live there? So machine learning was used extensively in these equipments, in drones, and in the Gulf War and all that stuff. Let me also point out, AI was trained how to play chess and other things. Then they said, no, we wanted to take it to a higher level. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to go very fast from this. So they incorporated AI into your YouTube, into your Facebook, into your TikTok and all that. And what AI does is, I'm going really fast here. What AI does is that when you're watching videos on YouTube, it analyzes your patterns of what you like to watch. Do you like to watch cat videos? Do you like to watch funny videos? Do you like to watch documentaries? Do you like to watch sports? And based on your likings, the data is stored, and those kind of videos are presented to you and get you attached with it. Therefore, artificial intelligence is learning of your pattern and your behavior and responding to it in that particular way. And then they have your data, and I don't know if you've heard of those election times between Trump and Hillary Clinton, where they had this organization hired from UK which collected millions of data points of every voter, and then how they manipulated the data points and then got Trump to win the election. Later on, when they found out, the company went bankrupt, it was taken to the court and all that. So, in simple, they know you a lot, right? Now, let's come to the bigger part here. This was the basic that I wanted to quickly cover. Now, this is something that we do not understand. That when they know us in and out, and they understand what we like and what we don't like, they can manipulate us by getting us to do and behave in a particular way. And referring again to the election of Trump's time, they were able to manipulate the whole country to vote Trump and not vote Hillary Clinton. So the more data we provide to them, the more access they have to our information, and they know what to do and how to manipulate. I'll skip some part of it where, once they have enough data, they would, call themselves Ana Rabbukumul A'la, because we know what to do and how to manipulate you and how to run it. But now, let's come to the machine learning and neural networks or deep learning. Now, do we have a marker? If it's not, then let me see if I have here. Oh, okay, great. Now, everybody's got a tablet. We've seen a tablet, and we use for writing, right? So now when I write on my tablet, and I say 6, or 5, for a human being, it's so easy to see that this looks like 5, and therefore this is 5, right? Or you know this is 2, and you know this is 3. But how would the machine understand that this is 5 and not S? Or this is 3 and not 7? Right? And that is where the concept of neural network comes into picture. For example, if I write like this, 3, how would it know this is 3 and not 8? That's where the concept of neural network comes into picture, where this tree is broken into multiple parts here. And these multiple parts are broken into pieces, and permutations and combinations are evaluated. And what can this be? Can this be 8? If this part is placed here, is it part of 8? Is it part of 7? Is it part of 1? So for example, it has the bits there. In the second line, first thing you will try and check is if 1 is like answer that this could be either 3 or 8. And sometimes you see that when you're writing and we ask them to convert our writing into text, it makes mistakes. So when you're writing L, it thinks it's a T. Or when you write 3, it thinks it's 8. When you write 5, it thinks it's S. But when you correct it and say, no, this is not S, but it's 5, that's when it learns. And it learns your special pattern. And then it starts storing the data. So they said, okay, we can get the system to do this. But the bigger question when it comes to artificial intelligence was this. Can we get artificial intelligence to imagine and learn for itself? Can computers imagine? Why? Because the difference between human intelligence and computer intelligence is that while we can process data, we have a special ability to imagine. We have a special ability to dream. And we have a special ability to learn and create. So now the big challenge was to move artificial intelligence towards this. To get the computer to imagine, to dream, and to create. All right. Because creativity needs an original thought, and the original thought can be created through the human intelligence. So, here's your first news. It says, publish the first article written by artificial intelligence. Meaning that artificial intelligence is not just processing information, but if I give it information and I tell it to create something from that information, it is able to create by itself. So, published first article. Google AI can dream, and here's what it looks like. So they said, can you imagine, can you dream, can you think of what you would be like? Then they said, can you create art? Because art is something that needs creativity. Art needs thinking. Art needs to think outside the box. So they said, can AI create art? And you have websites in which the AI creates the art and allows you to actually sell it. And this website is about 1.5 years old. I'm not showing you the latest information, which I'll show you later on. But AI is able to create art. AI is able to create paintings, and you have websites which sell the paintings. Then you have the first painting created by AI, which is almost like an original art. And you see that there is a digital code sign here, shown as the first original painting created by artificial intelligence. Just the way all the artists sign their portraits and their art. So, somewhere, this question still remains. Are computers like those times where they just had data, they used to process, they used to give output and over? Or are they getting closer to the way the human beings imagine and think? So now, they are creating, because art is very unique and specific to human beings. No other being can come up with art, paintings and drawings. But artificial intelligence is able to come up with paint. Then came the time where the biggest challenge for artificial intelligence was placed. This company called Google, they have an offshoot called DeepMind. And they said, we want to see how much can artificial intelligence learn and what can it do. So they tried to find out which is the most complex game in the whole world. So they found out that chess was complex. And then they found out there is a game called Go, G-O, played in China. And it's the world's most complex game. And it's one of those original games being played from the times of the kings. And it is said that when one king wanted to go to war with another king, before they can go to the war, they would come together, sit down and play this game called Go. And based on how the king was playing, the other king would analyze his strategy for the war. That means the game Go, basically brings out your inner capabilities onto the desk. So when two kings are playing, they are not just playing a game, but they are seeing the inner nature of the competent. So your competitor, whoever is there, with this game, you're seeing their inner nature. So they said, okay, let's train Google DeepMind. That is, they called it AlphaGo. They created artificial intelligence, called it Alpha, and they said, you're playing the game Go. So they fed AlphaGo with 2,000 game plays. What does that mean? It means that they showed AlphaGo that this is how you play Go. And they showed him 2,000 games. This is how you play, this is how you play, this is how you play. Then they told AlphaGo, now play with your own self. So it started playing few times. And then it learned how to play. And for every move, it would predict 200 future moves of your opponent. And then from those predictions, it would decide one move and play the game. So the first thing they did is, once they felt that the game is ready, they invited the European champion. He was from Germany or France, I can't recall. They said, would you want to play with AlphaGo? He said, yeah, why not? He said, easily defeat the AlphaGo. And it's best of 5. So out of 5, if you win 3 games, you become the winner. So he comes to the table, game 1. What do you think happens? The champion wins or the computer wins? The champion wins. No, the computer wins. He gets shocked. Really? How did he win? Game 2, computer wins. Game 3, computer wins. And he loses flat out 3-0. European champion. And he's not able to believe that, Baba, I practiced this game for 15 years and I have a computer who's just defeated me straight out. That's not possible. And this game was available on YouTube. People were watching it and everybody trolled this guy. Said, you are not even Chinese. You're a German guy. You're a novice. You don't even know the basics of the game. And that's why you lost to a computer. If you were Chinese or Korean, originally from the Asian side, you might have had some intelligence. So they, literally ripped apart his whole career. Then AlphaGo approached this guy and he said, you ruined my career. He said, don't worry. We will hire you. Come. All you have to do is play with AlphaGo. Just keep playing with it. Every day, sit with AlphaGo and play different strategies with it. Next year, they said, we want to invite the world champion. You would see the Korean guy here, Lee Sedol, for competition with AlphaGo. So you can see the British flag, AlphaGo written on it, and Korean flag, Lee Sedol. Lee Sedol is 7 times world champion in the game Go. That means he's the big boss. He's the big guy. 7 times world champion. So they asked him, what do you think? He says, oh, Baba, that German guy, nothing. That's why he lost. So they said, what about you? He said, at the most, I'll lose 1 game. At the most. I said, okay, fine. They scheduled the time. They came for the game. He played the game. The game started off. And AlphaGo, because he learned from the German champion, European champion, it was taking more time to process and play the next move because he was playing against the 7-time world champion. What do you think happened? AlphaGo wins. So the first game he wins. And everybody's like, oh, what happened? And even Lee Sedol is shocked. What happened? I'm 7 times world champion. How did I lose to AlphaGo? I can't believe it. And everybody's like, oh, he's never played with a computer before, so it's first time he's playing with the computer and that's why he lost. I said, okay, no worries. Tomorrow I'll show the computer. Tomorrow he comes, he loses again. And the whole world is in a shock. That 2 games back to back, Lee Sedol lost the game. And tomorrow is the grand finale. If he loses, the whole Asian countries, all of them, Korea, Japan, China, they'll lose their face because it's like their game. And a computer just came in and just destroyed them and went away. And Lee Sedol is also under extreme stress. What would I do? Tomorrow if I lose, my career is over, just like that, European champion guy. So he's up all night thinking, pacing up and down, drinking coffee, thinking of different strategies. All night he's up. Next day, it's the final game. The game is being showed on all national TVs across the Asian countries. North Korea, South Korea, Japan, China, Myanmar, I don't know, wherever all this game is played. Everybody's sitting and watching. Lee Sedol is playing, AlphaGo is playing. They come to a point where, it's fierce takkar. And suddenly, Lee Sedol wins. And everybody's like, yes, did we not tell you? Our champion, first 2 games he didn't know how to play with the computer, but so that's our guy, that's our champion. Lee Sedol is also pretty happy that, then they say, what happened? How come you win? He said, I changed my strategy, that's why I win. So, no worries. 2 more games left and I know what to do. And what do you think happens in the next game? AlphaGo wins or Lee Sedol wins? Why? Because it's still learning. So he learned the new strategy. Next day, something extremely interesting happens. Because now, it's 2:1. And if Lee Sedol wins it, then it will be 2:2. So again, everybody on the TV is watching. It's like, I don't know, how many of you are cricket fans? Okay, so every time it's India-Pakistan, right? Everybody's sitting and analyzing. So he hits one ball and it's like, okay. Because he played on the left, it had this meaning. If he would have played on the right, it would have meant this. So everybody is sitting and discussing. Lee Sedol placed here. This means this. Next, he has to place here. Only then he can get a better hand, upper hand. And AlphaGo is placing here, blah, 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 blah. All this discussion is going on. And, literally, the reporters are sitting and discussing. And they have a board and they're actually showing it to the people how the game is going on. And suddenly, AlphaGo plays a move. At a particular square, let's say C24, that in the past history of 25 years, or maybe more, nobody has ever played that move. And that was considered to be the most stupid move. So AlphaGo placed the coin on C25. The moment the reporters around the world saw this move, everybody started laughing. They said, we knew the computer is stupid. Nobody plays C25. That's a childish move. Even a newborn baby doesn't play that move. And they criticized AlphaGo and they were like, Lee Sedol is going to win the game today. That's the most stupid thing we've ever seen in the history of the game Go, blah, blah, blah. And even those who programmed AlphaGo and fed all the games, they were shocked. Like, why did AlphaGo play this move? And what was happening was on the back end. So the computer and the game is happening here, but there's the room there where all the servers are connected. They're watching the probability of victory and the probability of loss. So every time Lee Sedol played a move, it showed the probability of victory for Lee Sedol is, for example, 85%, and probability of victory for AlphaGo is 15%. Then AlphaGo plays a move. Probability of victory for AlphaGo is 75%. Lee Sedol is 25%. With every move, the probability was being discussed. So when AlphaGo placed, where it should have placed a very good coin, so that the probability of victory should have gone to 80, 85%, when it placed that coin, the probability of victory of AlphaGo came down. 10%. And everybody's like, what just happened? Why did AlphaGo play this move? Next move, Lee Sedol. Next move, AlphaGo doesn't know where to place because it's just not making sense because he made a mistake in the game. So it's not making sense, where do I place the coins? So it places the coin at a random square and everybody's like, it's all gone. The whole software got messed up. It kind of, you can say AlphaGo crashed. Next move, Lee Sedol. Next move, AlphaGo. Next move, Lee Sedol is thinking. And that's the image. That he's sitting and thinking for about 7-8 minutes. Then he says, I give up, I lose. And Everybody's like, what just happened? How did he lose? And he says, that C25, that confused me thoroughly. I don't know why he played, how he played, and what he wanted to achieve. And it totally derailed my thoughts. And I realized that I am stuck in a game I can never win. And that's when they realized that AlphaGo was not just replicating the games we taught it, but it created a move that was not used in 200,000 games in the history. No one played that move. But AlphaGo created that move, played that move, and won the world champion. That is when they realized that artificial intelligence has immense power to think and create. And that's when they said, okay, now we will use Alpha for all the possible projects. And then they started using it for various things. Let me see, do they have AlphaGo? Yes, we have AlphaGo as well. So they started using it for various things, including games. Can you see the image here for the games? They have some games called strategy games. So you have to come up with strategy, you have to go and capture the village, you have to build your towers and fight and win. And even in those strategy games, Alpha was winning, and it defeated the world champions in the games. So to understand clearly, Alpha now knows how to fight war, how to strategize, and how to win. So tomorrow, if artificial intelligence takes control of itself and wants to fight against human beings, it knows the precise strategies it should use against the human beings to win. So while we are training, we are forgetting that it is learning. Right? So there is a thread there. And a lot of scholars said, Baba, artificial intelligence, don't let it grow so much and so much out of control. Tomorrow, he will become independent and enslave all the mankind. And will say, Ana Rabbukumul Ala, I am smarter than you. And unfortunately, some people, without really thinking what they're doing, they asked artificial intelligence that if we want to create weapons of mass destruction without using bombs, because all explosion and all that looks really bad, so we don't want to look bad. So without using explosions, if I want some weapons of mass destruction through which I can destroy cities, kill all the people, what do? In 4 hours, it gave 7,000 ways of killing or mass killing in which you can wipe out the whole city. So now it knows how to kill people. It knows the war strategy. It knows the game strategy. It knows how people are thinking, how the mankind thinks. Then comes the greater victory for artificial intelligence. I'm showing you those parts which are the victorious parts and not those things that we use in our day-to-day life, which is Facebook and all that, because we don't realize what's happening behind the Facebook. Even if I tell you, you would be like, oh yeah, but Maulana is exaggerating. No, it's actually, you can imagine if artificial intelligence can defeat a 7-time world champion in the world's most complex game, then imagine the amount of processing that goes in when you're using Facebook and the kind of data they're collecting from you, the kind of data they're collecting from you when you're using YouTube, when you're using TikTok, when you're using other softwares, including Google searches. You know what? Do this. Try this out. Keep your phone locked, hold it near you, and talk about pet dogs. Say, I want to bring a pet dog, probably a Pomeranian, or Labrador, and I have a nice place, but I don't have a kennel. I need a kennel. And I don't know what toys do dogs like. Let me, think. Or are there any stores around here for the toys of dogs? Blah, 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 blah. Try that for 1 minute. Go to Google and search whatever you want to search. But when you're searching, you have a right panel where you get advertisements. You will see you get all advertisements pertaining to dogs and the toys. The listening all the time. There was a news which said that Google ruined the proposal. So what basically happened was the boyfriend wanted to propose to the girlfriend, and he was looking for good rings, costly rings, diamond rings, and blah, blah, blah. And he finally went and bought the ring. And when the girl logged onto the computer and she was searching for her purchases, like, I want to buy dress, I want to buy carpet, whatever, every now and then there would be advertisement for ring, best 20-carat ring. And she's like, why am I getting advertisements for rings for last 2 days? Discount and blah, blah, blah. And she asks the husband, what's going on? I think I'm getting a divine sign from somewhere that Google knows. And he's like, oh my God, I was planning to propose you and Google ruined it, everything. The whole surprise that I wanted to bring in as a surprise, you've been seeing rings and you've been getting ideas. So if I propose now, it won't come in as a surprise because you're mentally somewhere thinking that, there's going to be a proposal soon. So basically Google, Facebook, they are listening to you all the time. So try it out. Try with anything you want. I don't know, burger, steak, or whatever. All right. Then Alpha, after Go, they came up with a concept called AlphaFold. Again, why am I talking about AlphaFold? Please understand. This all turns back to religion. There's somewhere religion playing a role. And that's why I feel we need to know about artificial intelligence. We say everything was created by God. They say everything came into existence after Big Bang. So I'm going slow here. Please follow with me step by step. Where did man come from? From chimpanzee. Where did they come from? From X animal. Where did they come from? From Y animal. Where did they come from? From fishes. Where did they come from? Blah, 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 blah. And finally you reach a point where they say, the first single cell. And then we say, where did the first single cell come from? Did anyone try to search it on Google? Where did the first single cell come from? They don't have an answer. They say, we don't know where the first single cell come from. Why? For a simple reason that something that does not have life cannot create something which has life in it. So, this marker cannot create an apple tree. Why? Because the marker doesn't have life in it. And it can't turn into a plant or a tree or a fruit or a living thing. So, when the explosion happened, Big Bang, and the earth was formed, it was in the lava form, it cooled down, the rain happened, warm water puddles were there, but there was no life. So how did the life come into existence? And even the first single cell, if you just do a little research, what does a cell structure look like? They say it is more complex than a whole city. That it needs management, you have mitochondria, you have cytoplasm, you have nucleus, you have DNA, you have the basic liquid, so it's far more complex than a whole city. That means a puddle with mud and warm water, all of a sudden, single cell came into existence. How? How does that happen? They can't explain it. And then they said, no. We think we know how it works. I said, okay, tell us. I said, certain chemicals, when they react together, they fold into a protein form. And this protein form is the first form of life. And when this protein forms interact with each other regularly, constantly, it leads to the creation of first single cell. I said, okay, fine. If that is the case, then I should know that if I mix A, B, C chemical, it folds into a protein which leads to the first single cell. If it's that easy. They said, yeah, that should be achievable. So from 1945, they started this experiment of mixing chemicals and getting the protein to fold in a particular form which will lead to the creation of the cell. And they have conducted more than 30 million tests or cycles of protein fold. And from 1945 till 2000, you remember the date 2017? Till 2017, they were only able to achieve 60% accuracy. Meaning that they said this is how the protein will fold. And from that, only 60% accuracy was achieved. And they were not able to go beyond that after millions and millions of tests. Thank you so much. And then they fed all this data to AlphaFold. They said, okay, this is what we've been doing. This is what we've been achieving. Now, I'm mixing this chemical. Please tell me how would this fold into a protein and what would the protein look like? After attempting 1 year, AlphaFold was able to predict the protein fold by 99% accuracy. So when it folds, it knows exactly how it's folding. So now they know what combinations I should try to get that protein fold which will lead to first single cell. Why do they want that? So that they can prove that the whole thing came up as evolution and not creation. So somewhere artificial intelligence is being extensively used to negate the religion, to negate the God. So prediction and reality and match 99%. So they're working on that. There's a video on this. You can search it on Google and you can see. Google DeepMind's AI just taught itself to walk. It's a very popular video. It was running into millions and millions of views within very short time. What did they do? They created a form and they told him that if you fall, you lose. But you have to get from here to here. And it tried and tried and tried and finally taught itself how to walk. Meaning that they are trying to prove that a man who balances itself on 2 feet and walks successfully over a period of 1 million years can actually learn how to walk. The creationist, the one who claimed that Allah created us, we claim that no, God gave this ability to us. What they say is no. We learned over a period of time. So imagine 4 million years and we were like a single cell which grew into multiple cells and multiple forms and bones and cartilages and blah 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 whatever, and slowly we learned how to walk the best way. And then it shows that this thing that was lying on the ground, it learned to walk on 2 feet even though it had 2 hands. So it realized that I should not be walking on feet and hand, but I should be walking on 2 feet. They did not tell it that you need to walk on 2 feet or on your 4 limbs. They didn't give any information. They said from here to here, you have to reach here. Every time you fall, you lose. So it taught itself walking, and you will see that it taught itself walking while moving the hands, because it realized that when I move the hands, I get a better balance. So they're saying that if the single cell had the minutest intelligence, it could teach itself to grow into better and more complex organisms till we became human beings. And therefore, it's foolish to believe in God. Now, this is my point, that the threat it poses to Islam. If I can teach Alpha to play a game and win that game by learning how it is played, don't you think that if we provide the Holy Quran, we provide the books of Ahadith, we tell Google how to derive the fatwa, and the method that Ayatollah Sistani uses to derive the fatwa, the method that Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi uses, the method that Ayatollah Khamenei uses to derive the fatwa, don't you think it will learn how to derive the fatwa? Is it impossible? No. And unfortunately, we are not paying attention to this huge threat that we have to the marjaiyat today. Even in Hausa, no one is focused on artificial intelligence. No one is talking about it, no one is discussing about it. When you bring to their attention, they're like, no, it's not that big a threat. No, it is a big threat. And we're not realizing it. Today, look at our youth. They have a problem. They want to know, how do I fast? What are the rulings of fasting? They don't open Tawziul Masail. They don't go to Divine Pearl to look for fatwa. They don't go to sistani.org to look for fatwa. They go to Google and say, what are the rulings of fasting? They'll look at the 8-9 points that Google is telling them and they follow that. Tomorrow they need a fatwa that I did not pay my homes for 5 years. What do I do? Tell me according to Ayatollah Sistani. You go and type in ChatGPT, it'll give you the fatwa. And then you no more need any of this marjaiyat. And we are being oblivious. Do you remember that incident of Ayatollah Marja Taqlid, Ayatollah Shirazi and the tobacco? How many of you have heard of that incident? When British Empire wanted to colonize Iran, they came and they bought all the tobacco from Iran and they monopolized. And then they started selling back the tobacco to Iranians in the form of cigarettes. And they wanted the Iranians to become addicted to cigarettes, and through that means they wanted to get into Iran and monopolize and colonize all of Iran. At that time, Ayatollah Shirazi gave a fatwa: smoking, buying tobacco, selling tobacco, facilitating buying and selling of tobacco, taking commission for tobacco, all of it is haram. And suddenly, all of Iran just stopped using tobacco. And in less than 6 months, British Empire had to pack up its bags and leave. And that's when they realized that a very, very powerful entity exists in Shiaism, which if they give one fatwa, it can send the whole empire back to its country. So do they not see marjaiyat as a threat for their long-term goals? They do. Do they not want to eliminate that? They do. And they're planning for it. And we, as the followers of Ahlul Bayt, we are totally oblivious of what's happening with artificial intelligence. In the real world, in technology, in social media, in our mobile phones, in web developments and app developments, and what's happening behind the scene when it comes to religion. So this is something that we need to be very, very careful of. That how are we approaching artificial intelligence? And with what intention are we approaching artificial intelligence? And how do we want to use it in our lives? And that's why social media should be used only to provide that specific religious content which will be utilized by others, rather than providing all sorts of data about ourselves. I'm going for ziyarat to Arba'in, I'm leaving home, selfie. Heading to Karbala, boarding the plane, I'm coming Imam Hussain. I have seen people, I've been with a caravan, I've seen people, we reached the haram, the zari is there. Before kissing the zari, they hold the zari and they're taking a selfie first. First selfie, then ziyarat. I'm not lying. The whole caravan, all the youth, boys and girls. First selfie, then ziyarat. And when we start providing all this information, they know what we are. And they will know how to manipulate us. And they will know how to control us. So please remember, artificial intelligence is a very, very complex thing. You can use it for good things, and it can even harm us and cause huge destruction and start up businesses, or how to come up with business ideas. I can go to ChatGPT and I can use it for business ideas. Give me 10 side hustle businesses that I can start under 10,000 USD. Yeah. Till he comes up, it's a little slow here, else it's generally very fast, and And from this, if I pick any one and I say, okay, for example, there's social media management, point number 8, or 7, handmade crafts and art sales. I say here, can you give me a detailed plan for point number 8? Got scared. I'll say generally, it goes really fast. Okay, so now it's giving you steps. What do you need to do? How do you need to do? Where is it getting all this information from? So the more we use it, the more information we provide. And the more, so you're getting all this from ChatGPT 4, which means real time. It's actually going to all the websites, collecting all the existing data, consolidating that, and bringing and showing it to me, right? I forgot that I'm connected to ChatGPT 4. I wanted to show on ChatGPT 3. It would have been much faster. But now that we are on ChatGPT 4, what is the top trending stock in Indian market as of today? It'll give me today's stock and tell me this is the top stock. And I can discuss with ChatGPT and ask him, should I be investing in this stock? Is this the best time to invest? Or is it already reached its peak? I should wait till it comes down and then invest. You can actually have a complete conversation with ChatGPT. And it'll tell you, okay, this is what, this is what, this is what. So people are using artificial intelligence today to grow, to start their business, grow their business, and make millions out of it. Right? On the other hand, this very same artificial intelligence, if it can be a beneficial tool, it can also be a harmful tool. So it's upon us how we use it and what kind of data we provide to artificial intelligence. And hence, we need to be extremely careful of how we deal with artificial intelligence. Today, it has seeped into our laptops, it has seeped into our mobile phones, and it is keeping track of you all the time. Even if you turn off your data service and SIM card, Google is still tracking your movements through GPS. And it will send the data back to Google and say you're traveling from here to here, and you do that regularly from this hour in the morning to this hour in the evening. And they store that data. And they can use it anytime for manipulation. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ahle baytihi tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. So we can open up the session for question answer. And if anyone's got any questions, I'm here to answer. But before that, let me ask this question to ChatGPT. So it says, I cannot predict. All right, so let's open up the session for question and answer. If anyone's got any questions, I'll try and answer to the extent of knowledge I have, inshallah. Sure. Excellent question. If you're using ChatGPT 3.5, there's no guarantee that all the responses are true, because ChatGPT 3.5 is limited to January 2023. But if you're on ChatGPT 4, it can give you wrong answers, but if you ask for references, it'll verify and tell you that I have a reference or I don't have a reference. When it says I don't have a reference, that means it's not a genuine answer. It got made up because of all the data, intense data that it has. And it has happened with some of my friends. When they were doing some research on Khoja history, they said list down the books on Khoja history. ChatGPT gave 6 books. And he knew that there were only 5 books written. So he said, summarize the book number 6 for me. It gave 20 points of summary. Then he said, where can I buy the book? It said, Amazon, go to this link. He went on that link, the book wasn't there. So he searched all of Amazon, all the online bookstores, all the possible places that sell books. He reached out to them and said, I'm looking for this book. They said, this book doesn't exist. So he came back and said, you suggested this book, but this book doesn't exist. He said, really? Then it searched and came back and said, my apologies, this book doesn't exist. So he said, then how did you give me 20-point summary? From where did you get that? It said, from wherever I got it, but I did not get it from that book because that book doesn't exist. So sometimes all the answers are not true and not based on reality. So sometimes you have to cross-check and push it to get the precise answer, specifically when you're looking for very precise answers. Yes. When we finish all the artificial intelligence related questions, then I'll answer that, because cryptocurrency is not our topic of discussion today. So once we finish artificial intelligence questions, I'll address that as well. But that itself will take at least 15 to 20 minutes for explanation. Okay, any other question on artificial intelligence? Possible. I have been doing tabligh for last 10 years, and I can tell you, the standard mimbar and the majlis that we are doing, 85% of the youngsters don't listen to it. There are only barely 15% listening to it, only because at the end of the majlis, the parents ask them, Suna majlis? हाँ, क्या सुना? मौलाना बोले मोबाइल फ़ोन अच्छा नहीं है, ज़्यादा गेम नहीं खेलना चाहिए. क्यों नहीं खेलना चाहिए? नहीं पता, गेम खेल रहे थे. So he is actually sitting and playing games, and just because I said games खेलना बुरी बात है, it just went into that. So he has that sentence with him. Rest of it, I don't know, I was playing games. So the problem today is, like I mentioned in the Jummah Majlis as well, that the youth are coming, but they are not part of the Majlis. They're lost in their own world of virtual media, social media, games and all that. And that's a huge threat for us, because tomorrow, your generation, when it moves on and the whole Jamat or the religious activities, Azadari, Majlis, Jummah Namaz, Eid Namaz goes into the hands of the youngsters, they don't know how to handle it. And it will be utter chaos. Literally empty rahega ye sab kuch. Why? Because no one's attached to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Unless we change our way of doing their tarbiyat and conducting programs, wherever I go, they prefer I do more of lectures and question answers, because youth have so many questions about religion. So they say, Maulana, aap 25 minutes ka majlis padhiye, open session rakhiye uske baad, let the youth sit with you and let them ask question and answers. And we are okay, you're doing 45 minutes of question and answer, 1 hour of question and answer. Lekin jo traditional majlis hai, 20 minutes majlis padhiye, 5 minutes masaib padhiye, finish that, and then we want you to interact with the youth. They have too many questions, and because these questions are not answered, they're losing faith in Islam. They're saying, Islam ke paas answer hi nahi hai. We're facing so many problems, and Islam doesn't know how to guide and solve our problems. So why should I go to Islam? Why should I go to Maulana? Why should I even go to my parents? Just 2 days ago, someone came to visit me, and they said, my daughter asks questions. She asks me questions, and I don't have their answers. I don't know what to do. I said, why don't you have answers? I said, because we don't have time to study about religion. I said, if you are saying so, what will be the situation of next generation? हमारे बाप दादा ने कुछ स्टडी की है, तो we are here. हम कुछ स्टडी नहीं कर रहे, where will be our kids? And where will be their kids? So we are going into a black hole. Until and unless we change our methods, we will not see good, positive, strong results. Any other question? Yes. Correct. So it was somewhere here where it says, see, some scholars identify the threat क्योंकि वो आगे का देख सकते हैं, सोच सकते हैं, वो involved है पूरी दुनिया के events में क्या हो रहा है, क्या नहीं हो रहा है. So he already instructed the Iranian parliament and the experts that you need to become experts and excel in AI. Why? Because just like I mentioned, I don't know if I've mentioned in the majlis here or not, but I constantly mention this. Till 20 years ago, the war used to be the war with the weapons. They would come with guns, drop missiles and all that. Now the war is psychological and social media war. Tomorrow it's going to be artificial intelligence based war. And if I don't prepare myself with the existing weapons, I am bound to lose the war. Today, why are we losing our youth? Because they are using psychological techniques and we are still using our standard member method, standard lecture method, standard monologue method. I speak, you listen. I don't want to point out, but the reality is, after 20 minutes, we fall asleep. We fall asleep. We can't take so much information at a time just listening. I have to sit and listen. After 15, 20 minutes, either I fall asleep or I go into my phone. So monologue is not going to work anymore. Let me tell you this. Everyone's got a phone here. How many of you have got latest phones 1 year old? How many of you bought your phone 1 year ago? My phone is 4 years old. 4 years old still, I'll tell you. How many of you have 1 or 2 years old? Do you know the flicker rate of your screen? At what rate does your screen flicker? 60 hertz or 120 hertz? When I say 60 hertz, meaning that every second your screen is flickering 60 times. My phone is 4 years old, but it's already 120 hertz. That means every second when I'm looking at the screen, it's flickering 120 times in 1 second. I'm sure all of you watch movies or serials or whatever. Today when you turn on the TV, do yourself a favor. The moment a scene begins, start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Before you finish 10, the screen changes. The moment it changes, start counting again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, change. 1, 2, 3, change. 1, 2. That means your brain is being trained not to focus more than 10 seconds. How many of you remember those old movies where the camera used to focus in one room and then you had this slow crying music and that long shot used to be there for 15 minutes, there's this dialogue going on and we used to get tired. But today things are moving at a fraction of a second. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. That means the brain is being trained to not focus for more than 10, 15 seconds. And that's why our youth, who's constantly using laptop, constantly watching movies, constantly watching Netflix, constantly playing games on the screen at 256 bits, their brain does not have the capacity to sit and listen continuously. And that's why our youth gets bored. That's why even we are getting bored because we're sitting and watching TV, we're sitting and watching these serials and our episodes, Netflix, whatever, and our brain is getting conditioned. For every 10 seconds you need something new. And in monologue, you cannot have this kind of engagement. And that's why today we need to have dialogue-based discussions where you're involved, you're asking questions, I'm answering, then you say, I don't agree. I say, no, this is the background. Then you say, but this is also there. And when that is happening, there's more learning happening, there's more engagement happening, there's more involvement happening. And that is when the learning will happen. Else, 15 minutes, that's it. Then your brain starts sleeping. Live example. I don't intend to point you, but that's the reality. When I am sitting on mimbar and I'm delivering lectures, I see parents listening, kids are playing games. And even if some parents get their kids to sit and listen, the moment it's time for Masaib, and the kid is bothering the mother, she immediately gives the phone and says, let me listen to Masahib and cry peacefully. Question, why do you want to cry? Because I get sawab, I want to go to Jannah. What about your kid? Why are you not preparing him to listen to the Masahib of Imam Hussain alayhi salam? Why are you not working towards building that love of Imam Hussain alayhi salam in the hearts of the kids? I'm not pointing at mothers. I've seen the fathers also who come with kids. They give the phone and they're like, let me listen peacefully. Play. Baba, can I play this game? Play whatever you want. And then suddenly he's playing all those wild, crazy, murdering, killing and gore games and blood splashing on the screen and all that. And then tomorrow he goes to school, fight with one guy and like, Beta, what happened? Like, I don't know. I just felt like punching him, so I punched him. And you're like, I didn't teach you this. Yeah, but you gave the phone and you were not monitoring your son. And he was doing what he wanted to do. So in Majlis, we are actually, to put it in a way, placing our kids on a silver platter and handing it over to the enemy. That you condition their brains. You teach them your ideology. While Maulana is talking, I'll listen, I'll cry. But my kid, he is getting trained to the Western ideology. It's a huge threat. So we need to revisit the way we are doing things, because the enemy has changed their style. Because enemy has changed their style, if we don't change, we are all going to lose. I remember giving this example to some of you just a few days ago, that if I have to go and fight a war, I take 1,000 people with me, they have swords and spears, and there are only 50 people on the other side, but they have machine guns and tanks and rocket launchers. Who's going to win? They're going to win. They're just 50. We are 1,000. But they will win. Why? Because they have the latest weapons. So if I am using my old techniques to inculcate religion, it is going to work only to a certain extent. We have to understand that I want the youth to follow religion. First, they have to listen. Two, they have to understand. Then they will follow. They're not even listening. Forget about understanding and practicing. So first I'll have to get them to listen. So to get them to listen, I have to bring them in an environment where it's congenial and easy for them to listen. So we'll have to change our techniques. And if we're able to change it, it's only then that we will end up benefiting and, helping our kids, being on the path of religion, inshallah. Any other question? No question? Should we answer the question on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? How many of you want to listen to it? Really? You should have told me. I would have done that it is supposed to be cryptocurrency and not artificial intelligence also. So, all right. You should have told me. I was only told, I asked Ali Abbas that, are you talking about artificial intelligence? He said, yes. So I did artificial intelligence.
This is the future now, AI and numbers. And all the motivational speakers say that degrees are useless and waste of time. What do you think? Somehow they are correct maybe in future in our next generation.
When you're talking about educational degrees, which is you? Yeah, most of them are useless. Yeah. Right now, right now, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all of them say that if you have the skill and the ability, we will hire you. It doesn't matter whether you have a degree or not. Now, when it comes to technology, that's true. But when it comes to business management, that's not true. You still need to learn leadership. You still need to learn how to run a business and how to manage things. But when it comes to software, you don't have to go and learn the whole process. If you're able to create, develop, generate. Just yesterday, I was watching a video. A guy from a very remote area in India, he came up with an app called Text. And he said, look, I use messages, I use WhatsApp, I use Telegram, I use blah, blah, blah. There are 10, 15 different apps I use for messaging on social media. I want to link all of them in one app so that all messages come here. So he came up, he designed the app, he developed the app and linked all the apps here. And after 1.5 years, he sold it for $50 million. Question, does he need to go to Harvard? Does he need to go to any school where they teach them software development? No. He knows how to, and understanding the market, what to create to make $50 million. And he made it. Now he moved to US. He's developing other apps there. And we very religiously send our kids 4 years, beta jao engineering seekho. After 4 years, he comes back, Baba, job nahi mil raha. Teach them how to be entrepreneurs. Teach them how to know what's happening in the market and create stuff. They'll bring $50 million in 2 years. But management is different if you're interested in taking your son to management. All right, let's get to cryptocurrency. I really wish if I would have known, I would have divided the time in that way. All right, please understand when we are dealing with cryptocurrency, there are two parts to cryptocurrency. Right now, I would want to emphasize and clarify. The fatwa for, is it my mic? Okay, the fatwa for Bitcoin is different and the fatwa for cryptocurrency is different. First, every time we talk about transaction in Islam, Islam says, look, you want to do a transaction, let me define the currency for you and let me define the goods and services for you. If you're dealing with these goods, your transaction is valid. If you're not dealing with these goods, your transactions are not valid. If this entity has certain qualifying criteria, then we call it currency. If it doesn't have that, we don't call it currency. So, what is a currency? Islam says anything that has intrinsic value or a promise behind it, that will be considered as currency. And that's why you had the silver coins and gold coins. So even if the stamp on the silver coin and gold coin is lost, the value of the currency is not lost because it still weigh, according to the weightage, it had the same value. So whether it is from Iraq or it's from Saudi Arabia, the stamp of the king, doesn't matter. It's the weight that decided the value of the silver coin or the gold coin. And that's why it had its own intrinsic value, currency. What happened next? People found it extremely difficult to carry that much currency with them. Because during their travel, transit, either they lose or they were stolen, attacked and taken away. So they said, no, we don't want to carry the currency. Then what? They said, we will carry something called IOU. IOU notes. That's called, and it's written as IOU. What happens in that is they put all the currency with one person and take a IOU note which says that I owe you 100 gold coins, stamped, verified, and he becomes the authorized note issuer of that region. So when I go to Mecca from Iraq and I have a IOU note from, let's say, Ayatollah Sistani's office, everyone considers it valid. Why? Because Ayatollah Sistani is authorized to issue IOU notes. So you say he has 100 gold coins from me. So when you have this, that means you have 100 gold coins from me. And our transaction is, let's say, 98 gold coins. You give me 2 gold coins, I'll take the goods from you, and with this certificate, you can go and claim 100 gold coins from the office of Ayatollah Sistani. Or you can give this certificate to somebody else as the value of 100 gold coins. Then, instead of these IOU notes being specific to some registered users, the government said, we will issue currency notes directly. Why issue gold coins and silver coins? And therefore, the value of every currency was based on the gold reserves. And that's why it's called gold dollars. If you remember these terms, we used to use the term gold dollars. Then what happened? The economy started growing so fast that the amount of gold they had and the amount of currency they required was far more than the gold reserves. So let's say if they had $50 billion worth of gold, but the currency required was $3 trillion. They're like, how do I promise when I don't have the reserves and the backing? That is like cheating. So they moved from just the gold to petroleum and other resources. Then it's called petrodollars. And then they realized even petroleum is not enough. Then they moved to something called fiat currency. In fiat currency, the government says that I promise that every time you bring this currency to me, I will give you the worth of the value of this currency to you. So if you're bringing $100, it's upon me to issue resources and valuables worth of $100 to you. Be it in other form of currency, be it in the form of goods, be it in form of anything else. But I will honor the value of $100. Similarly, every other country agreed on this because no country had enough resources to base the value of the currency. So then what happened? Two things happened. One, the value of the currency is based on the promise of the government and based on their performance, economic performance and intellectual properties. How are they performing in the global market? That decides the value of the currency. So now the currency is backed by the promise. Is it clear till here? Let's look at the goods. For goods, Islam says anything which the people find of value and use can be considered as goods. So this is goods, this is goods, this is goods, this is goods. However, nails, clipped nails of Maulana Hemani, will it be goods? Cockroach legs. Why? Because nobody finds value in it. 1 grain of rice. What do I do with 1 grain of rice? If it was half a kilo, I would have cooked. What do I do with 1 grain of rice? It has no value. So Islam says if anything has to qualify as goods, then it has to have a certain value in the eyes of the buyer. That's when we call it goods. However, there are certain goods that are najas, and we forbid you to trade in najas goods because the money that is exchanged by selling najas product is not permissible. You don't become malik of that money, and therefore you're not malik. Then the question, blood. Blood is najas. So can I sell and buy blood? Say, if you're selling and buying blood as blood, then it's not permissible. But if you're selling and buying blood as a life-saving element, then the title has changed from just being blood to life-saving unit, and then you can buy and sell it. For example, human feces, right? In simple words, potty. So Islam says you cannot sell that because it's najas. Urine, you cannot sell that because it's najas. But same thing if it is used in farming as form of natural urea, then the title has changed from being feces to urea. Now you can sell it and buy it. There's no problem in that. Dog. I cannot sell and buy dog because I just want to have a nice dog at home to show off. But if I am living in a desert area and I want protection for my family, then I can keep dogs. So now the title for the dog has changed from fashion or a show-off element to a protective dog you can buy and sell. So the definition for goods is also very clear. Now, let's look at what's happening with the currency. We have fiat currency, and then the government says, why do I need to print currency? Let me move everything into digital form. So they made it into digital form. And even in digital form, your basic currency has been turned into numbers, and the government still holds the promise that if you transfer this much, I will provide these goods or services to you. In services also, there are some haram services like fahsha and all that, not permissible. There are some halal services like lawyer, teacher, doctor, medicine and all that. That's all halal. What happened with cryptocurrency? The first thing that came into picture was Bitcoin. Now, first question, why was Bitcoin created? Does anyone know? When the government saw that there are large amounts being moved from US to, let's say, Afghanistan or Russia or Philippines, they wanted to know, why are you paying $1 million? And then they found out that they're actually using this transfer of funds to Thailand and other places for drug trafficking, or human trafficking, or gun trafficking. And in that scenario, the government used to freeze the assets and said, we will not allow the transaction. We are blocking the transaction and we are freezing your assets. That's when these guys said, we need to find a way to make these payments without government's interference and putting a block on it. So what do? Two things. One, if the currency is registered at one central server, then someone can block it, like the Federal Bank of America, for example, or the central bank of a country. For example, in India, we say RBI, Reserve Bank of India. All your currency that is circulating is in the servers. So when there's a digital transfer, it's happening through one central server. They said if it's a central server, then it will be in control of few people. Let's decentralize the registration of currency. So what they did is they said Bitcoin, there will be a code generated and that will be stored on all the nodes that are connected to the Bitcoin servers. So if any one server crashes, your Bitcoin code is still saved on another 1 million computers. And then you have your own crypto wallet which has your code of what your currency is. So no one person or one entity or one group should be able to control, and therefore we will decentralize cryptocurrency. So that only when all of them together agree that we don't want to use it, that is only when we can block it. Else, no one in the world can block the exchange of cryptocurrency. Again, there's mining and there's transaction. Now, knowing for the fact that the Bitcoin was created with this intention, the fatwa for it was haram at the beginning. Said, no, you can't do it. Why? Because the intention for the creation of this is haram. That is one point. Point number two. For every currency in the world, there is a responsible entity which says that if anything happens to your currency, we are there. You can come to us and raise the issue, litigate it, take us to the court. But there is no such entity, particularly for Bitcoin. We don't even know who created Bitcoin. We say Satoshi Nakamoto. Who is he? Don't know. Japanese? Don't know. American? Don't know. Where is he? Don't know. How is he operating? Don't know. Why did he create it? There's only a 3-page paper written by him that this is why we are creating Bitcoin. So why was it created? For money laundering. If I lose my crypto wallet, what happens? For Bitcoins, nothing. Once lost, gone. But if the same thing happens with your Ethereum, you can always reach out and recover your crypto wallet to a certain extent, litigate, put it under question and all that stuff. But Bitcoin, once gone, is gone. Then came the bigger question. How is the value of Bitcoin being decided? The currency was decided based on the gold, petrol, then the promise of the government and the performance of the government. How is the value of Bitcoin being decided or a cryptocurrency being decided? Particularly Bitcoin. They said today it's $300. Within 3 months it became $2,000 or $3,000. And in 6 months it was $20,000. Then it crashed back to $3,500. Have you ever seen any currency in the world without external interference, like the government of America interferes into Cuban government and Venezuela and make the currency crash? That's a different story. But in normal scenario, have you ever seen any currency in the world go from $3,000 to $20,000 and crash back to $3,500? This is not a natural phenomena. That means this currency is speculative. Someone is speculating it. It is not growing a natural course, which also means that it is not based on standard criteria of valuation. It's not based on intellectual property. It's not based on resources of a country. It's not based on the economic performance of anything. It's totally and purely based on speculation, demand and supply. If there's a higher demand, price goes up. If there's a lower demand, price crashes. And people are sitting and manipulating these. And that's why for Bitcoin, the fatwa still remains that if it is being used for illegal activities, it's haram. But if it is not being used for illegal activities, the government in your country permits it, and you're mining it. After mining, you have it and you want to sell it. So there are 3, 4, 5, 6 criteria given by the Marja Taqleed. Based on that, it becomes halal for you. So Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani has different criterias. Ayatollah Hamadani has different criterias. Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi has different criterias. Ayatollah Sistani says that I won't give a straight fatwa, look at another alim's fatwa and decide based on that. Ayatollah Khamenei says that I'm not giving a fatwa, look at the government of Iran. If it declares it's halal, it's halal. If it declares it's haram. You cannot indulge in transaction, not mining. They're not saying about mining. You cannot indulge in transaction. So Bitcoin as of today has different fatwas. But let's look at other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or smart contracts or flash loans or digital financing. Right? There's a whole financing setup that's going on with the help of cryptocurrency. For all of them, you have a backing agency which says that anything goes wrong, we will take care of it. And the value of that currency is also based on the performance of that institute. So Ethereum has not gone from 3,500 to 60,000. It is progressing at a natural process, organic growth. Smart contracts are progressing at an organic growth. So they are all permissible, all halal, no mushkil, no problem with that. And some of the governments, including Iranian government, is planning to launch Iranian cryptocurrency. Again, why does Iranian cryptocurrency becomes halal? Because it is backed by the government. So there's a huge difference between Bitcoin and everything else. So let me bring other cryptocurrencies here because I forgot about these coins. There's something called Dogecoin, Inushiba coin, Shitcoin. I don't know, so many other coins, and they're all of them put together, which are meme coins. They're either called meme coins or there's a term called shitcoin. So that again is all speculative. There is no specific value to it. There is no value based on performance, economic stability, intellectual property, nothing. They came out as a meme. People just wanted to buy it and have it for the sake of having it and for the sake of fun. I'm sure you must have heard of Dogecoin, which Elon Musk constantly endorses, and then when the prices goes up, he sells his coins, and then when the prices comes down, he again buys it and says, are you guys crazy? Why are you not buying it? And they're like, oh yeah, we forgot. Then when they start buying, he again sells it off, right? So he's sitting and speculating the whole Dogecoin story there, and so many other coins like that, As coin, and I don't know, so many things there. All of them are haram, right? Even though they say that, me as a person, I created it. Why? For fun. The moment it says for fun, gone. It's haram. Only those serious coins, like DM from Facebook, like Ethereum, and I think there are a couple of more there which were created with a serious intention of making online trade and transactions easy. Those coins are valid and halal, can be mined, can be traded without any problem. Does that clarify the doubt? From the base. Why did I start it from the base? So that tomorrow if there is a new coin in the market, you don't have to wait for the fatwa. You know the criteria. That what is the criteria for the validity of a Bitcoin. And then you can use it, buy it, trade in it, sell it, so on and so forth. Any questions related to Bitcoins? Any coin backed up by a solid organization and with a promise to back it up in case of any problem, just like any currency. So you have a, yeah, you, correct. We don't call it utility, huh? Don't call it utility. नहीं तो वो तो आप बिटकॉइन भी यूज कर सकते हैं ना, तो भी डॉज कॉइन भी तो आप यूज कर सकते हैं. हाँ हाँ, वो लोग जो कॉइन लॉन्च करते हैं. सो डोंट से यूटिलाइजेशन, से द प्रॉमिस टू ऑनर द वैल्यू. Any coin that is backed by a federation that promises to honor the value, there's no problem with that. Any other question? All right, so let's finish the session with Dua Faraj of Imam Zamanat Jalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif and then call it a day. Though we extended another half an hour, but I think the answer for bitcoins and cryptocurrency is pretty clear for you all. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Thank you all for coming, listening. I hope it was beneficial. You all benefited and enjoyed the session. Absolutely my pleasure.